Serious topic. No drama. Serious topic. I've made a video on this topic before, but it's a really long video, and a lot of people don't want to watch it. And I can understand because it's like an hour long. So I'm going to truncate it and try to keep this to under 15. We'll see if I can get it under 10. We're going to talk about some very popular medications called SSRIs. They're a class of antidepressants called selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. That's the technical term for them. I'm not going to name the actual drugs because that'll probably get me flagged. But I want to posit something. Last year, summer of 2022, I actually requested to be put on one of these drugs. I don't generally do that kind of thing. I'm pretty anti-prescription drug. I'm mainly because if there is going to be a weird side effect, if there and it's listed and maybe it's a 0.5% of the population gets that side effect, I'll be the person that gets that side effect. That's me. And I don't really like messing with brain chemistry either. But I was in such a state last year. That is the drama. Same source of drama. I was in such a state last year that I actually requested from my medical provider to put me on one of these drugs. One of the worst decisions I've ever made in my life. It was. Because guess what? I got all the bad side effects. I did. Got all of them. And if you look up, it's a particular drug that starts with a Z and ends with a T, and it's in this classification of drugs. It's a very popular one for people. If you look it up and you see known side effects, when you get to the bottom and it says, if you have these, seek medical attention immediately, I had them. Yeah, I'm smiling about it now. I've had over a year. It wasn't funny. It wasn't funny at all. No. Have you ever seen one of those people? A lot of times they live under bridges and they do a street drug that starts with an M. And when they're high on it, they kind of like dance around and seem like their skin, they can't even be still. That's what the SSRI did to me. It did. I felt like I had bugs crawling underneath my skin. I would take it, and within a half an hour, for the next 3 to 4 hours, I felt like I had bugs crawling underneath my skin. It also made me anorexic. It also gave me horrible insomnia. See what else it did for me. I started having chest pain. Yes. Started having chest pain after I took it. And it magnified my depression. Did not make it better. Oh, and it made me twitchy too. That was the other thing. I had like all these uncontrollable muscle twitches, and especially in my arms and legs. And that's one of the reasons why it was hard to sleep, because I would be, I was exhausted. By the time I was on this stuff for about 3 weeks, I was absolutely exhausted because I hadn't really slept in about 3 weeks. And I looked like I had walked out of a concentration camp from World War II. I'm not the biggest person. I'm not. I'm 5'6" and I weigh about 100 and I range between 130 and 135 pounds right now. When I was on this drug, I was down to about 123, which is rail thin for me now. You could see my rib cage here on my chest. You could see the ribs. That's how thin I got because I didn't eat. Didn't eat. And then at the end, what started happening was I was not myself at all. I felt like I was really clinging to my sanity. And when I say clinging to it, I mean like with fingernails, barely. I would, so there were times that I would lay in the middle of the floor and watch the ceiling fan go round and round. And I would be saying to myself, make it stop, make it stop, make it stop, because I felt like my skin was crawling and I was so tired and I couldn't eat and I was hysterical constantly, constantly. I would cry nonstop for hours at a time. And that's make it stop, make it stop, make it stop. Chest pain, magnified the depression, made the panic attacks way, way worse. And I also got really cold. I would make me really, really cold, really cold. I would take it, and it within a half an hour, that was part of the skin crawling thing. But it also made me cold, cold, and I would either have to get in the shower with the water on complete hot, I mean hot, scalding myself, or a lot of times I would go outside because it was 100 degrees. I was still in Houston. It's 100 degrees, and I would sit out on the balcony or in the little back patio area of where I was living at the time. And I still didn't feel warm. The sweat would be dripping off me and I would still feel cold. I would still feel cold. And I would either lay there and stare up at the sky and cry, or I would kind of sit with my knees tucked into my chest, rocking back and forth, crying, just crying and crying and crying and crying. And I, it was not a good scene. And I guess I am thankful to be alive. And when I went to my medical professional about this, their answer was, let's increase your dosage. And then we're going to give you this other drug to help with the side effects. And that's when I said, no, no more. I'm done. And I went cold turkey on them. There was something about it that felt artificial. It didn't feel like a normal reaction. It felt like a drug reaction. And there is such a thing called serotonin syndrome or something like that. But so I went cold turkey on it. And I didn't have any more of the bugs crawling underneath my skin and the being cold. As soon as I discontinued it, the other stuff took longer. The appetite coming back, getting sleep, the muscle twitches. The muscle twitches hung around for like a month. So, but the reason why I'm bringing this up is how many adolescents and teenagers are put on these drugs because they have problems at home and they're showing signs of anxiety and depression, and they get put on these drugs, and they don't have the life experience of me, a 52-year-old, who is also very in tune with her own body because of my background. They don't understand. And then they become psychotic. And then they go to public places like schools and other places and engage in horrible acts of carnage against other people. Look at the statistics on these type of events. Look at the statistics and look at how many of the perpetrators were on these particular pharmaceuticals. Begs the question. I don't know. There was something deep in my brain that held on and said, this is not normal. This is not normal. And that's what made me get on my phone, get on the internet, and I looked up the side effects, and I had every serious bad side effect that you could have. But when I had talked to my medical provider, their answer was, we'll increase your dosage. Until they never bothered to ask me, are you having these side effects? No, never asked. We'll just increase your dosage. We'll just increase your dosage. If I had gone along with the increasing of my dosage, I might not be here anymore. That might have been the thing that really tipped me over the edge. Might have been. Might have been. So just ask yourself that question. Is it really a gun problem? Does America really have a gun problem? Or do we have another kind of problem?